Hello aspirants, a very good day to all of you. So today being a bright Wednesday morning, yes, so I think there was a little bit of delay in us starting the session today. Yes, so excuses for that. Okay, so yes, talking about today's daily current affairs analysis, right? Today dated 6th August 2025. One thing you all have to remember is இன்னைக்கு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 5th and 6th. ஓகே ரெண்டு டேஸோட இருக்கிற இம்பார்ட்டண்ட்டான டாபிக்ஸை நம்ம இன்றைக்கி டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண போகிறோம். ஓகே, ஸோ இன் திஸ் கான்டெக்ஸ்ட் எஸ் பிஃபோர் வி ஸ்டார்ட் எவ்ரிடே ஒரு பாசிட்டிவ் இன்ஃபோட நம்ம ஆரம்பிக்கிறோம் பிகாஸ் பாசிட்டிவிட்டி இஸ் வாட் வி ரிக்வயர் டு ஓவர் கம் ஹார்ட் டேஸ், கரெக்ட்? ஸோ இன் திஸ் கான்டெக்ஸ்ட் அ வெரி குட் நியூஸ் ஃபார் ஆல் ஆஃப் யூ. என்ன நியூஸ் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, யூபிஎஸ்சி பிளான்ஸ் டு சென்ட் ரெக்ரூட்மெண்ட் அலர்ட்ஸ் டு இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்ஸ் via email, which is very good. So I think all of us are working really hard, right? We're all working really hard to clear this exam, right? நிறைய பேர் years of effort போட்டுட்டு இருக்கீங்க. But the problem is, in the exam குள்ள போகும்போது how your mindset changes. So as far as what I have observed, aspirants பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா many a times நிறைய பேர் ரொம்ப எஃபர்ட் போடுறாங்க. பட் இந்த ஜேர்னியில் வந்து they get inside a cocoon, they get inside a shell, meaning they completely lock themselves out of their surroundings. So yes, sometimes what happens is when we completely shut ourselves, awareness irukadu, sutti enna nadakudunu theriyadu, right? And the interest to know what is happening around us will also become less. So nariya vaati pathingana many exams come, many updates come, many notifications come, but we miss out. And in the miss out ku pathingana there is a term called as apathy. APATHY, apathy. Apathy refers to a lack of unawareness. So in the context of pathingana, there are many exams conducted by UPSC, not just civil services examination. Nariya exams irukku, nariya ministries oda vacancies and recruitment drives also come through, but these posts remain unfilled for a very long time, right? They are not filled up effectively. So in the context of enna agudunu pathingana, there is one thing we need to keep in mind, right? And one thing that we need to keep in mind is make the best out of every opportunity that you get, because remember, time waits for none, right? Time waits for none. So in the context of pathingana, yes, a beautiful initiative taken by UPSC is to directly send recruitment alerts to various institutions. Idea enna, nariya posts irukku which are vacant, many posts are there which many deserving candidates can get an opportunity, right? Especially for candidates years and years of preparation பண்றவங்களுக்கு பாத்தீங்கன்னா they are not able to reap the benefits of it. So here you should remember, it is always important to also have a plan B, right? So உங்களுக்கு வேற செக்டர் போகிறதுல இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இல்லாட்டியுமே one thing you should keep in mind is have a good plan B, and that plan B could be any other government related job, any other exam. So in the context, this is one bright news for today, and this is a great news for us to start the day, right? So yes, happy news for all of you. So going forward, one more thing that I wanted to tell you all is, in Veranda IAS, UPSC optional classes have begun, right? Especially for PubAd, Tamil literature, geography and sociology. So yes, ungalku idu patti further information venona, there is information attached in the description link as well as in the comment section. So what I would request all of you to do is enter your details there and then take part in the orientation session, right? So with this, let us straight away get into the discussion for today. Okay, so guys, first nama enna panna porom pathingana, we are going to discuss important topics from today's newspaper. So in the context of pathingana, the Hindu International Edition includes certain important topics, right? And the important topics for today include, number 1, women's inclusion in armed forces a priority, says our defense minister Rajnath Singh. Okay, so students, I think there is a little bit of technical glitch over here, so I request you to just be patient for just 2 minutes while we get it addressed. Thank you so much for waiting. Yes, thank you. Okay, so now I guess since morning we are having a lot of technical issues, but yes, it's sorted and taken care. Okay, so yes, talking about the important topics for today's newspaper from the Hindu International Edition. Women's inclusion in armed forces a priority, says Rajnath. Right, so our defense minister Rajnath Singh talks about promoting an inclusive defense force. So in the context like women participant milestones, what has happened so far, இது எல்லாமே நம்ம understand பண்ண try பண்ணுவோம். And here in this context, please understand, in your page 4 of the Hindu, this has been highlighted. Next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, the second topic that we will be discussing is pollution control boards have power to impose restitutionary damages. So in the context of what has been Supreme Court's mandate on pollution control boards, that we will try understanding. So yes, unga ellarkume theriyum, GS paper 3 in environment, right? There is an important subtopic called as pollution. So in the context this topic could be important. Next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, a species was in news, and that was largest Asian tortoise back in Nagaland Community Reserve. So in the context species related topics, especially with regard to flora and fauna, are significantly in news, right? So species நம்ம எப்படி analyze பண்ணணும், how do we decode it, we will try understanding this. And in the topic வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, it features in your GS paper 3. In your GS paper 3 with regard to environment, this is an important topic. Okay, next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, why India's heat action plans are in cooling cities. So yes, the world is becoming a warmer and warmer place, right? Climate change oda implications is increasing year on year and day on day. So in the context வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, many cities are affected because of increased heat wave events are increasing. And enna பாத்தீங்கன்னா, these kind of occurrences happening in the environment and with regard to climate change affects the vulnerable population the most. So here the impacts of heat action plans and its ineffectiveness on vulnerable sections of the society. Yaru vulnerable sections? Women, children, elderly, இவங்க மேலே இருக்கிற impacts we will try understanding. So this is also an important topic from your GS paper 3, right? இது வந்து environment கிலியும் பேசலாம் and also in the context of disaster management. So 5th August இருக்கிற important topics decode பண்ணிட்டோம். Now we will move forward to 6th August. So yes, I think today morning all of us also woke up to a very sad news. என்ன நியூஸ்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, flash floods have basically occurred in Uttarakhand, right? So Uttarkashi district flash floods have taken place, and this has taken a toll on many lives, right? 4 people have died, many people have been affected, army personnel are missing. So the ellame has been in news. So in the context why did this happen, what are flash floods, right? IMD definition edukku enna, what are the causes and what are some measures, right? இது எல்லாமே நம்ம டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண போறோம். So in the context talking about floods, GS paper 1 geography, also with regard to disaster management, right? GS paper 3. In the context this topic is important. Next topic வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, India Philippines relations elevated to a strategic partnership. So yes, in a multipolar world, how is India navigating its interests? So இது வந்து இங்க நம்ம டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண போறோம். And very recently India and Philippines have decided to further deepen their ties, and we are elevating our trade relationship to that of a strategic partnership. So இது கீழ what are the different areas in which we will be cooperating, இது எல்லாமே இங்க ஹைலைட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க. And this is significant from your GS paper 2 international relations. Next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, there is also one more topic which is on lowering the age of consent. So yes, unga polity GS paper 2 பாத்தீங்கன்னா, age of consent plays a vital role. So we will understand a few things about it. Next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, UN starts new bid to forge plastic pollution treaty amidst global crisis. So yes, there is a need for the global plastics treaty. And in the context of வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, this topic plays a vital role with regard to your UPSC GS paper 3 environment, because plastics வச்சு நிறைய questions வந்திருக்கு. And also it talks about the conventions, right? Global plastic treaty, different countries coming together and to come up with a significant plastic treaty. So இதுதான் நம்ம இன்னைக்கு வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண போறோம். இது எல்லாமே Okay, so yes, so I think by now all of you must have had a very clear idea, right? என்ன டாபிக்ஸ் இன்னைக்கு எஃபெக்டிவாக டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண போகிறோம். ஸோ வித்தவுட் ஃபர்தர் டிலே லெட் us straight away get into the discussion for today. Okay, so yes. So first topic, women's inclusion in armed forces a priority, says Rajnath, right? So in the context என்ன discuss பண்ணிருக்காங்கன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, number one, they have spoken about the need for inclusivity in defense forces, right? So for many years together, women's participation in defense forces was highly restricted. So எப்படி இந்த milestones ஆச்சு, how did women's position in the defense forces improve, right? இது எல்லாமே understand பண்ண try பண்ணுவோம். Next, in this context, there are some statistics as well. So statistics with regard to what has been the proportion of women in the Indian Air Force, in the Army, in the Navy, இது எல்லாமே இங்கே elaborately discuss பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. So இதையும் நம்ம understand பண்ண try பண்ணுவோம். And yes, the author of this article has also gone on to tell that in the recently conducted Operation Sindoor வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, yes, over here, Colonel Sophia Qureshi இருக்கட்டும், இல்லை let it be Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, right? They have all been an inspiration to multiple women to take up defense as careers, right? So in the context of what has been the evolution, how did the participation of women in defense increase and why is it needed? இது எல்லாமே நம்ம டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண போகிறோம். Okay, so let's start with this. So in the context வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, number one, the government is very much interested in increasing the proportion of women in defense. So here, representation of women is a must. At the same time, gender neutral opportunities create பண்றது கூட is very very important, be it technical or non-technical roles. Talking about current representation as of 2024 data, என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, Indian Air Force we have 13.4% women. It is the largest out of the three defense services. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, talking about Army, we have 6.58% of women. Talking about Navy, it is 6%. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, if we go on to understand, right, how did this proportion increase? 2005 பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் these are the numbers, right? I think you can see it in the slides. So from 2005 till now, there has been a gradual improvement in the position of women, and the primary reason has been various judgments, various initiatives, right? For example, short service commission இருந்துச்சு, later a judgment came out, permanent commission was being brought in, especially for non-technical roles, right, non-combat roles. So in the context வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, the position of women has steadily improved over the time period. So as of now, talking about branches, right, army பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, there are 12 branches which are open to women, right, and this also includes combat roles. Navy, all branches expect submarines, and with regard to Air Force வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, overall all the major branches are open to women. So this is the position of women in defense forces so far. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, what have been the various milestones? So here we need to understand all this step by step. Section 12 of the Army Act, right, when it came about in the year 1950, என்ன ஆச்சுன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, it did not allow women's entry. ஒரு கவர்மெண்ட் நோட்டிஃபிகேஷன் இருந்தால் மட்டும்தான் women could enter into the army. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ப்ரொவிஷன் இருந்துச்சு way back in 1950, which was discriminatory. Later வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, there were many milestones through which the position of women has improved over time. So in the context of பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, 1958 வந்து women were allowed to be a part. Okay, they were allowed to be a part of the army, but in very restricted roles. என்ன மாதிரியான roles ன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, 1958 they could be a part of the army medical corps. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, 1992 வந்து சில expanded roles, for example postal services இருக்கட்டும், இல்லை army education corps இருக்கட்டும், right, இந்த மாதிரியான roles women were allowed to be part. Next இதுக்கப்புறம் என்னாச்சுன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, there was a scheme which the government joined, which the government launched. In the scheme வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, it was called as the Women Special Entry Scheme, and in the வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, the tenure of the scheme was for a very short period. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, this was replaced by what was called as the Short Service Commission, where 14 years tenure, right, women could have. Next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, women felt that they do require permanent commission, right? Short Service Commission is not right, we require permanent commission. And in the context of வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, later in 2003 a judgment was basically being delivered in time, right? So how did this happen? 2003 வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, there was an advocate who basically filed a case in the Delhi High Court demanding permanent commission for women. Delhi High Court வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, in 2010 they ruled in favor of this. So என்னாச்சு, although it was basically ruled in favor of permanent commission, for the defense ministry, right, to take action on this, it took a very long time. Later வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, finally in 2020 a landmark judgment came out, and in the judgmentல என்ன சொன்னாங்க, women's right to permanent commission was being mentioned over here, right? Especially in non-combat streams. So the 2020 judgment, Supreme Court landmark judgment, basically said women have right to permanent commission, especially in non-combat streams. So in this context, the idea is நிறைய milestones நடந்திருக்கு with regard to women's participation in defense forces, and the idea has been to promote an inclusive defense force. So ஏன் வந்து women's participation in defense force is required? So think about it, by nature, right? Women are very skilled. Women are very good at multitasking. Women have a certain degree of empathy, and the way they think is also different from the way men think. So having more women, number one, also means you are bringing diversity in workforce. Second, when it comes to tactics, when it comes to executing missions, right? Women can bring their own insights into it, right? Their way of thinking is also guided a little bit by empathy, is guided a little bit by crucial execution. So in the madriyana different thoughts and different ideas kondu varalam to make the entire process much more relevant. So in the context of yes, in time, right, women's participation in the defense forces has improved. And yes, in the author of the article has also said Operation Sindhurla pathina the stars were primarily women, right? Women defense officers. So in the context, be it Colonel Sophia Qureshi or Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, imga ellarume are leading examples and are a great source of inspiration for many women to take up defense as their career, right? So this is a way of empowering India, empowering women. So in the context, yes, the government is committed to improving the representation of women in defense forces. So in the context, we have tried understanding the timeline and the evolution of this particular issue. So yes, nariya vaati society liye irukattum illa matta questions like with regard to your essay also, women related questions are on the rise, right? So gender stereotyping irukkalam, position of women in armed forces irukkalam, right? So many questions revolving around these dimensions exam la varudhu, so you should have a clear cut idea. Okay, so now moving forward, next topic unga GS paper 3 environment la irundhu pathina, pollution control boards have power to impose restitutionary damages. Idu Supreme Court sollirukanga. So the idea is very simple. Around us, right? So there is a common saying, water pollution which pathina, water everywhere but not a single drop of water to drink. Indeed, this is the reality of today. Many of the water sources around us, water bodies are irukattum, right? Many industries pathina, without treating this water, they are discharging it into water bodies. So in the madri waters, when they enter into the water bodies, what happens? So number one pathina, aquatic organisms are highly threatened, right? Because water or a dissolved oxygen will come down, mortality of fish will take place, food chains and food webs are terribly affected. Sometimes in the contaminants organic matter adhigama irundhuchina, it can lead to algal blooms. Algal bloom aachina, the water will not be fit for domestic use, right? In the madriyana waters lende many diseases can spread, human oda health is affected, right? Overall, water nala, if people are going to be affected, vulnerable sections are going to be affected, diseases are going to be more, then expenditure on health will increase. If expenditure on health will increase, right, poverty, unemployment, health, all these three go hand in hand, right? So in the context of rather than having a productive workforce, rather than investing in infrastructure and development, government is forced to take care of poor and vulnerable sections, right? So in the context there, the burden on healthcare, the burden on cleanliness drive also increase. So yes, idu pathina, it has a huge impact and ramification if it is not addressed in the first step. So in the context of why is it important for industries to be made accountable? Polluters pay principle na enna? Why should it be enforced? Idu ellame the article la effectively discuss pannirukanga. We will try understanding all of this very significantly. So I hope you all have a rough idea of what we're getting into. So in the context of pathina, number one, you need to understand the Delhi High Court pathina, they had ruled that the Delhi Pollution Control Committee cannot impose compensatory damages on industries. Okay, so Delhi High Court has told that the Delhi Pollution Control Committee, if at all there are if any industry is doing a wrong action, right, அவங்க effluent norms comply பண்ண மாட்டேங்கிறாங்க, right, emission standards follow பண்ண மாட்டேங்கிறாங்க. So in that context the Delhi High Court has said the Delhi Pollution Control Committee cannot impose compensatory damages, cannot fine them, cannot penalize them. So in the context ரெண்டு ஆக்ட் இன்வோக் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. Number 1 is the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974 and the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. So இதில் இருக்கிற specific sections கீழே you cannot impose compensatory damages. இதுதான் Delhi High Court சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. But later பார்த்தீங்கன்னா this was appealed before the Supreme Court, and in this context Supreme Court came up with a landmark judgment, and Supreme Court basically said that pollution control boards have the power to levy damages, have the power to impose penalties, right, especially when industries are not complying with effluent norms. So yes, in the context why this is very significant. So nariya vaati pollution control boards oda power, right, do they have the right to penalize, do they have the right to impose and collect fines? இது எல்லாமே ஒரு question mark இருந்திருக்கு. It has been an ambiguous area where there has not been much clarity. So yes, in the context of the Supreme Court giving more powers to such boards, right, pollution control boards, to basically penalize industries, right, to impose compensatory damages on them, basically is tightening and is increasing the awareness and the need for environmental conservation and protection. So இந்த மாதிரியான efforts எடுக்கும்போது கண்டிப்பாக industries will be much more cautious. Industries will ensure that they will comply with effluent norms. Industries will ensure that they will treat their water before releasing them. So இது ஆச்சுன்னா என்ன ஆகும்? The amount of pollution in water bodies will come down, diseases spreading will come down, right, water security can be better promoted. If all this is made, vulnerable sections can be benefited, right, diseases will come down, environmental pollution will be less, healthy population இருக்கும். Healthy population also means a productive workforce, right? So please understand, இந்த மாதிரியான டாபிக்ஸை நீங்கள் பார்க்கும்போது try to have a 360-degree view. Pollution ஒரு issue, ஆனால் இந்த pollution issueல இருக்கிற social angle என்ன, political angle என்ன, economic angle என்ன, legal angle என்ன, technological angle என்ன, try to think in a 360-degree view, right? So here you are able to appreciate, right? So in the landmark judgment nala what could be the way forward, what could be some amazing benefits, இதுதான் நம்ம டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணுறோம். So next பார்த்தீங்கன்னா what they are saying is basically the powers under which the pollution control boards can impose compensatory damages. எதில் கீழேன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா number 1 section 33A of the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974 and also section 31A of the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. So in the context என்னெல்லாம் சொல்கிறாங்க? So number 1 it is enshrining the idea of polluter pays principle. So எந்த industry pollute பண்ணுதோ, எந்த industry effluent norms comply பண்ணலையோ, damages, compensatory damages will be levied upon them. And in the context the judgment also mentions that ex ante measures can also be put forward. அப்படின்னா என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா before even the damage happens, right, ஒரு ஸ்கோப் இருக்கு இந்த இடத்துல டேமேஜ் நடக்கிறதுக்கு, என்வாயன்மெண்டல் ஹார்ம் நடக்கிறதுக்கு ஸ்கோப் இருக்குன்னா then yes definitely we can impose penalties, right? So in the context they have also spoken about requiring bank guarantees, right? So definitely பார்த்தீங்கன்னா pollution control boards the industries are obligated to pay an amount to the pollution control boards if at all they don't comply with the existing norms. So in the context of polluters pay principle இதை understand பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணுங்க. So next பார்த்தீங்கன்னா why is this very significant? Yes, the significance is very simple. Pollution control boards, right, they are the nodal authority to ensure that pollution is curtailed. But in the context in the boards oda power illa in the boards oda power to impose fines, இது if it is not clear, if it is vague, it is not very well defined, right, நிறைய industries பார்த்தீங்கன்னா will be using this clause as a loophole to further continue polluting, because until now it is not clear whether the pollution control board can penalize or cannot. But after the Supreme Court verdict it has become clear that yes, the pollution control boards can also impose restitutionary damages, especially if industries are not complying, and this helps us to ensure in the idea of polluters pay principle, right? So this is a very nice aspect. So in the context try to go back and read about the Central Pollution Control Board, Environmental Pollution Act 1986, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. In the acts pathilam padinga, you will have a decent idea. So yes, in the context of previous year question, the Environment Protection Act 1986 empowers the Government of India to number 1, state the requirement of public participation in the process of environmental protection and the procedure and manner in which it is sought. Lay down the standards for emission of discharge of environmental pollutants from various sources. So இது வந்து 2017 prelims paperல கேட்டிருக்காங்க. So in the context இந்த மாதிரி questions வரும்போது one thing you need to understand is, see over here look at the options which have a higher probability of being right. இப்போ 1 and 2ல வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா the act is Environment Act, and here they have said to lay standards for emissions and discharge of environmental pollutants from various sources. So environmental protection ku idu irukkiradhu makes sense, so definitely 2 varum. But here vandu pathina state the requirement of public participation. India la there is a lot of population, right? So how can you go and state how much people should participate, how effectively they should participate to ensure environmental protection is taking place? Logically yosinga, but rather here it should have been state the requirement of the government, right, in the process of environmental protection. So that could have at least come here. Appo vandha kuda idu correct ah indirkalam. So in the context the first statement is wrong, second statement is correct, so the answer is B2 only. Okay, so in the context try to understand pollution. Pollution is an important topic. Nariya PYQs idhula irundhu vandirukku. Let me also show you a question which will link environment as well as polity. Okay, so the polity la vandu GS paper 2 mains paper la the question vandirukku in 2022. The most significant achievement of modern law in India is the constitutionalization of environmental problems by the Supreme Court. Discuss this statement with the help of relevant case laws. So in the case laws which vara questions is becoming our favorite area of UPSC in recent times, where nariya judgments quote panna solranga. So in this context, right, linkages ipo environment and polity oda linkage in the question, and in the question vandu pathina it was asked in your polity GS paper 2, right? So these are some ways in which interdisciplinary interdisciplinary coexistence exists between different subjects that you read. Okay, so this shows a relationship between polity and environment. Fine. So in the context let us further move forward. Next topic vandu pathina the largest Asian tortoise back in Nagaland's community reserve. So in the context vandu pathina the Asian tortoise is the largest tortoise in the Asian subcontinent. Fine. And in the Asian tortoise vandu pathina it has been reintroduced into a community reserve in Nagaland, right? So what I want you all to go and read about Wildlife Protection Act 1972, read about the different protected areas. Protected areas ennala national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, conservation reserves, community reserves. Idu patti poi padinga. Next, this is a species. Okay, so in the context neenga enna species padichalume, how do I want you to analyze it? Number 1, the name of the species. Number 2, the habitat of the species. Fine. For example, idu desert la iruka, idu tropical evergreen forest la iruka, that is the number 2. Number 3, across the world geographical distribution inga irukku. Where is the species found? Is it confined to India only? Is it found in the South Asia and Southeast Asian parts of the world? Is it found in other countries? So the global and the geographical distribution of the species becomes important. Number 4 is characteristics. So ஒரு ஸ்பீஷீஸ்க்கு சில யூனிக்கான கேரக்டரிஸ்டிக்ஸ் இருக்கும், ரைட்? ஸோ இந்த கான்டெக்ட் இந்த ஸ்பீஷீஸோட கேரக்டரிஸ்டிக்ஸ் என்ன? ஸோ நம்பர் 1, இட் இஸ் தி லார்ஜஸ்ட் ஏஷியன் டார்டாய்ஸ். இஸ் a very significant takeaway, right? So any idea what is the largest sea turtle in the world? So I'm waiting for your responses. Please respond in the chat box. Largest sea turtle in the உலகத்துல எதுன்னு தெரியுமா? Any guesses? There are many sea turtles in this world. Which is the largest sea turtle? Okay, so please respond in the chat box. Fine. So yes, sea turtles vechu nariya questions exam la vandirukku. Tortoise vechu kuda sila previous year question options, the questions have come, right? So in this context it becomes important. Now we're talking about the largest Asian tortoise. So here this is one. Next vandu pathina, after having noted down its characteristics, next vandu you should know the various threats that it is facing. Sila unique threat irka in the particular species ku. Fine, I'll give you an example. நீங்கள் படிக்கிற ஏகப்பட்ட ஸ்பீஷீஸ்க்கு ஒரு காமனான த்ரெட் என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஹேபிட்டாட் லாஸ் அண்ட் ஃப்ராக்மெண்டேஷன். ஆனால் there are some exceptions for different species. For example, if you take vultures, இந்தியாவில் வந்து ஏன் வல்ச்சரோட பாப்புலேஷன் கம்மியாச்சுன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் த யூஸ் ஆஃப் அ வெட்டினரி ட்ரக் கால்ட் as diclofenac. இந்த diclofenac is administered to cattle. After the cattle dies, diclofenac continues to remain in the cattle's body. Vulture is a scavenger. So vulture, when it feeds on this dead animal, diclofenac enters into the vulture's body and kills it. ஸோ சில ஸ்பீஷீஸ்க்கு மட்டும் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஹேபிடாட் லாஸ் அண்ட் ஃப்ராக்மெண்டேஷனை தாண்டி வேறு ஏதாவது ஒரு இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ஃபேக்டராக கூட இருக்கலாம் ஃபார் இட்ஸ் டிக்ளைன், ரைட்? ஸோ இன் திஸ் கான்டெக்ட் இஃப் தேர் இஸ் அ வெரி யூனிக் த்ரெட் யூ ஷுட் ஹேவ் அன் ஐடியா. ஃபைனலி இது கன்சர்வ் பண்ணுறதுக்கு ஏதாவது எஃபர்ட்ஸ் எடுத்திருக்காங்களா? இஸ் தேர் அ சிக்னிஃபிகண்ட் ப்ராஜெக்ட்? இஸ் தேர் அன் இன்டர்நேஷ்னல் எஃபர்ட்? இதை பற்றி தெரிஞ்சுக்கோங்க. நெக்ஸ்ட், one more thing you should know is its conservation status. Conservation status பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் நம்பர் 1 IUCN ரெட் லிஸ்ட் கீழே இது எந்த கேட்டகரியில் வருது? Next, CITES, right? Convention on the International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. So, in the context la vandu endha appendix keela varudhu? Is it appendix 1 or 2 or 3? Next, what you should also know is with regard to the Wildlife Protection Act. So, now please refer to the amended act. Wildlife protection after the amendment was done in 2022, right? Which schedule does it come under, right? Is it 1, 2, 3 or 4? So, in the context, try to have a strong clear cut idea. இந்த வேலை தான் நம்ம ஒரு ஸ்பீஷீஸையும் அனலைஸ் பண்ண போகிறோம். ஸோ ஏன் இந்த டாபிக் நியூஸில் இருந்திருக்கு? ஸோ பேசிக்லி 10 ஏஷியன் டார்டாய்ஸஸ், ரைட், ஹேவ் பீன் இன்ட்ரடியூஸ்ட் இன் அ கம்யூனிட்டி ரிசர்வ் இன் நாகாலாண்ட். ஸோ இந்த கான்டெக்ட்ஸை வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா they have highlighted a term called as soft release. ஸோ சாஃப்ட் ரிலீஸ்னா என்ன? there are two words, hard release, soft release. For example, ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் அனிமல், சரியா, இதை வந்து நம்ம ரொம்ப நாளாகவே ஒரு என்க்ளோஷர்லையோ ஒரு ஜூலேயோ ஒரு இடத்துல நம்ம வச்சுருக்கோம். இப்போ வந்து ஆல் ஆஃப் அ சடன் இந்த அனிமல் எடுத்து நம்ம ஃபாரஸ்ட்குள்ளே அப்படியே விட்டோம்னா திஸ் அனிமல் வில் ஃபைண்ட் இட் அ பிட் டிஃபிகல்ட் டு சர்வைவ் பிகாஸ் இட்ஸ் கம்ப்ளீட்லி நியூ என்வாயர்மெண்ட் ஃபார் இட், கரெக்ட்? ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் கால்ட் அஸ் ஹார்ட் ரிலீஸ், டைரக்ட்லி ரிலீசிங் தி அனிமல் இன் டு அன் அன்னோன் டெரைன். பட் இன் திஸ் கான்டெக்ட் சாஃப்ட் ரிலீஸ் வந்து என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஸ்டெப் பை ஸ்டெப் இந்த அனிமல் நம்ம ரிலீஸ் பண்ணுவோம், right? So in this context, இந்த animal வந்து the new environment க்கு adapt ஆகிறதுக்கு it can get used to it, right? So here வந்து the threats that this animal face will also come down. The animal will also feel much safer and then it is finally released. So here soft release has been done. So soft release na என்ன, இது பற்றி போய் படிங்க, okay? So now in this context, let us understand few things. So yes, in the context வந்து certain characteristics என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா it is the largest tortoise in mainland Asia. Okay, and yes, talking about the color, in the tortoise oda color direct ave in the color dana, is it directly a charcoal color? No. So usually enna agum pathina young ones are grayish brown in color, then vayas aga coloru maru and it will become charcoal color, especially in the adult phase. Next வந்து where is it found அப்படினு பாத்தீங்கன்னா it is majorly found in tropical and subtropical regions, especially in parts of northeast India and countries in Southeast Asia. So India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia and the Elang countries you can find this particular variety of tortoise. One more unique thing is while many tortoises, right, eggs வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா they will lay it in the soil, right, under the ground. இந்த tortoise பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் நிறைய leaves இருக்கிற இடத்துல வந்து on top of the ground they will lay their eggs. Okay, so that is something which is very unique, and here very interestingly females take the responsibility of guarding the eggs. Right, so egg lay பண்ண உடனே female will incubate it and also guard it, right? So that is also very unique. நிறைய tortoises இந்த trait கிடையாது. So next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா also one very ecological significance of this, it feeds on many insects, many tiny animals and also on many plant matter. So in the context of ஒரு ஃபாரஸ்ட்ல வந்து நிறைய different varieties of fruits எல்லாமே சாப்பிடும்போது it plays a vital role of being a seed disperser. Okay, so nariya seeds வந்து it will disperse it. So now let me ask you a question. Any guesses which bird is called as farmer of the forest? Yes, any idea which bird is called as farmers of the forest? Okay, so please reply on the chat box. I will take a look. So in the context talking about the major threats that this species faces is number 1, poaching, hunting. Right, next one, ஒரு animal வந்து அதோட population கம்மி ஆகுதுன்னா one of the major reason is habitat loss and fragmentation. Habitat கம்மியாக shrink ஆக the space available for the animal to roam around and the space available for the animal to in fact even feel safe becomes very less. Next என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா there is something called as zoom cultivation. I'm sure all of you must have heard. Northeast India shifting cultivation is still done in some places. So shifting cultivation பண்ணும்போது கூட இந்த tortoiseக்கு இருக்கிற habitat is shrinking and is getting affected, right? So all these are some of the major threats. Talking about conservation status, IUCN red list பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் it is a critically endangered species, meaning threatened species listல it is the highest category, right? So இதுக்கு அப்புறம் there is only extinct in the wild and extinct. So critically endangered species இருக்கும்போது more efforts need to be taken to promote effective conservation of this particular species, right? And next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா talking about the Wildlife Protection Act, amended Act 2022. So in the context it comes under Schedule 1, right? So நீங்க 1972 ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா it will come under a different schedule. As of 2022, the latest amendment, it comes under Schedule 1, okay? So these are few things you should keep in mind. Fine. So now in this context, IUCN red list பத்தி போய் படிங்க. Read about pink pages in the red list, green pages in the red list, right? Read about some FAQs on the red list, right? So all this could be important from the examinations point of view. So sometimes நீங்க Wildlife Protection Act effectively படிச்சிருக்கலாம். Schedule 1 னா என்ன, இது கீழ வர like provisions எல்லாமே you'll have an idea. But நீங்க படிக்கிற species வச்சு UPSC எப்படி ஒரு application question கேக்குறாங்க, இதை வந்து we will try understanding. So guys, look at this. In India, if a species of tortoise is declared protected under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, what does it imply? This is a 2017 question. Look at all these options. Take few seconds. I am waiting for your responses. It enjoys the same level of protection as the tiger. It no longer exists in the wild. A few individuals are under captive production and now it is impossible to prevent its extinction. It is endemic to a particular region of India. Both B and C stated above are correct in this context. So simply one thing you need to understand is tigers are endangered species. Wildlife Protection Act comes under Schedule 1. So here tortoise Schedule 1 la irunda, it is enjoying the same level of protection as that of tiger. So here UPSC is just trying to check if you are able to apply the concept of Schedule 1. இதை மட்டும் உங்களால் அப்ளை பண்ண முடியுதா இல்லையான்னு தான் செக் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணுறாங்க. ஸோ ஹியர் தி கரெக்ட் ஆன்சர் இஸ் ஆப்ஷன் ஏ. ஓகே, ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி தான் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் யூஸ்வலி எக்ஸாமில் வரும். ஸோ நெக்ஸ்ட் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தெர் இஸ் ஒன் மோர் டாபிக் ஃப்ரம் யோர் டிசாஸ்டர் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் வியூ, ரைட்? ஜியாகிரஃபி கீழேயும் வி கேன் டிஸ்கஸ் திஸ் ஹீட் வேவ்ஸ். ஸோ ஹீட் வேவ்ஸ் பற்றி போய் படிங்க, ரைட்? ரீட் அபவுட் தி IMD டெஃபினேஷன் ஆஃப் அ ஹீட் வேவ். Okay, so now here why India's heat action plans are in cooling cities. So now we all know the world is becoming a warmer and warmer place. Climate change nadakudhu, global warming nadakudhu, right? So around us temperatures are increasing and increasing. Year on year temperature is becoming very high, right? So 2024 had one of the hottest temperatures in the history of earth, and year on year they are saying 2030 varathukulla the subsequent years kuda can become much more hotter and beat 2024, right? So all this has been highly possible. So in the context la nariya cities vandu pathina they have come up with certain plans called as heat action plans. In the heat action plans enna basic idea is one, how to prepare people to withstand to overcome the heat stress, right? Second, infrastructure எப்படி improve பண்ணலாம், right? Promoting water security, all this comes under the scope of this. But in the context of what they are saying is heat action plans in the context of India has not been very, very effective. Yes, so poga pathina cities are going to get heavily populated, right? Many people are starting to migrate to cities. So cities la irukra varaikku energy consumption ah irukattum seri, deforestation ah irukattum seri, encroachment ah irukattum seri, it is increasing. So in this context, yes, obviously sustainable development is not taking place. So the existing heat action plans are not very effective. So overall in the article la idu pathi dhaan discuss pannirukanga. Let us understand few things. So 2024 பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் we are experiencing extreme heat, right? So February, usually February is much cooler, right? February வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா we had a heat wave. Next வந்து usually March, April la இருக்கிற temperatures have hit the above normal degree. So in the context of this is alarming and this is a cause of concern. So yes, what many people are saying is talking about heat action plans 2013 introduce பண்ணாங்க. Main idea என்ன, public oda health better promote பண்ணணும், food security இருக்கணும், water security இருக்கணும், especially construction workers, outdoor la வேலை செய்ற laborers-க்கு they should be protected. That is also important because think of it, high temperatures, less water availability directly impacts the health of the worker. Worker health impact and productivity of the worker is also getting impacted, right? So the ellame has a cyclical, a step by step ramification. Okay, so this is something we need to understand. So yes, in this context few more things I might understand pananum pathina. What have been the major challenges so far? Short term பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் நம்ம இமிடியேட்டா என்ன பண்றோம்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா there is a saying, right? Prevention is better than cure. But most of the time only after the damage is done are we coming up with some measure. This is very concerning. So in the context of what they are saying is வாட்டர் ஸ்டேஷன்ஸ் நம்ம செட் பண்ணுறோம், ரைட்? ஸோ நீங்கள் நிறைய இடத்துல வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா there'll be pots with water, there'll be certain places where people can go drink water. This is one thing that we are doing, right? Similarly, schools கூட பார்த்தீங்கன்னா many schools were shut, especially during periods of heat waves, right? So all these are some efforts. Long term investment பார்த்தீங்கன்னா that is what is required. So number one, people are talking about nature based solutions. Miyawaki method of creating urban forest. இது பற்றி படிங்க, Miyawaki method. Okay, Miyawaki method of plantation, read about it. Next, people are also suggesting இப்போ countries like Spain வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா they have incorporated what is called as urban vegetated canopies. Idea is buildings நிறைய இருக்கிற இடத்துல வந்து as much possible they are growing greenery on the roof of the building, connecting buildings, etc. Because more the greenery, at least micro level temperature regulation will take place. So this is also something that we can explore. Climate resilient infrastructure, adu kuda theva. Better water conservation plans, right? All this is required. Ipo neenga China la pathina they have something called as sponge city model. Read about it. The sponge city model, idu ellame you can use as value addition in your mains answers. Next, funding is less, research and development is less. What many people say is India spends less than 1% of its GDP on research and development. Budgetary allocation should improve, people's awareness should improve, participation of NGOs should be there. Many corporates pathina they have something called as corporate social responsibility. As a part of CSR initiatives also some efforts can be undertaken, right? All this can be done. So next vandu pathina the problem is heat vandu and heat waves all impact are is seen more of a health issue and it is not seen as a structural issue. So here acknowledging this issue in the long run, right? Urban planning layume heat action plans vandu nama integrate pananum. That is also very much required going forward. So overall idha the topic la discuss pannirukanga. So yes, with this vandu pathina we are completing the important topics for 5th August 2025. Now entering into topics for 6th August 2025. Number 1, flash floods in Uttarakhand leave 4 dead. So yes, basically வந்து என்னாச்சுன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா Uttarkashi district in Uttarakhand, somewhere yesterday in the afternoon, right, there was a massive flash flood. People did not expect a flash flood to occur. So in the context வந்து என்னாச்சுன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா many accommodation places, many restaurants, many places were wiped out. Severe damage to property. Next, 4 lives, 4 people are dead. Many people are missing. Many army personnel have also gone missing. So in the context the rescue operations are underway. Nariya efforts edukranga, right? So why does this happen? Why do flash floods get triggered, right? So idu ellathiyume patti we will try understanding. So in this context, number 1, please try to understand. Data vandu pathina 4 people are confirmed dead, 60 to 70 people are either missing or trapped and 9 army personnel are also missing. So ஏன் இது நடந்திருக்குன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா number 1, the trigger factor for this flash flood has been a cloud burst. So cloud burst க்கு நிறைய definitions இருக்கு. The Indian Meteorological Department has also given a definition for cloud burst. என்ன definition ன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா rain falling at the rate of over 100 millimeters an hour with very strong winds and lightning across 20 to 30 square kilometers of area. This is a definition given by the Indian Meteorological Department. So simple சொல்லணும்னா sudden rainfall or sudden heavy downpour within a very small time in a given specified area is nothing but a cloudburst event. So already vandu pathina the Himalayan region, right, it is located in a place where frequently landslides, avalanches, land subsidence idu ellame nadakudhu. So in the context of vandu pathina cloudburst mari event increase agumbodhu when the waters and the rivers are flowing, right, it will definitely trigger flash floods. Why? Because water quantity is increasing. So in the context of this flash flood has got triggered, right, and there was lack of awareness, people were not ready, nobody expected this and this has happened. So what are the main causes for these flash floods and pathina? Number 1, intense rainfall. Especially mountain regions intense rainfall irukumbodhu, right, runoff gets accelerated. Next vandu pathina ஒரு natural water body la it has a capacity up to which it can store water. ஒரு particular level மேல quantity of water increase ஆகும்போது this water is forced to come out, right? Next வந்து என்ன சொல்றாங்க, poor drainage இருக்கலாம், human encroachment இருக்கலாம், glaciers melting, climate change events that can also trigger massive deforestation, encroachment. All this will trigger such flash flood events. Okay, So next, talking about the overall effects, kandipa all of us know, first is great damage to life, great damage to property, great damage to infrastructure lines, right? So here when there is significant loss of life, right, economic activities get compromised, government personnel have to be brought in there, right? In the context of, please read about the National Disaster Management Authority, right? So what is its mandate? இது எல்லாமே பத்தி படிங்க. So how can we promote disaster preparedness in this context? Number one, monitoring தேவை. Early warning systems need to be employed. Real time information is required. Next என்ன வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, they are saying across these river basins, build embankments, build retention basins. So at least the damage can be reduced. அங்கே இருக்கிற local people க்கு give them training, right? Make them understand how they should equip themselves when such disasters happen. Disaster preparedness is also very important. Capacity building training programs for the personnel is also required. Nalla proper evacuation, especially to safer zones, should also be conducted, right? So in the context of urban planning பண்ணும்போது incorporating the notion of risk and disaster management and preparedness is also very important. This has also been cited, okay? So overall in the context of flash floods, cloudbursts triggering flash floods, examples of places where flash flood events have taken place in the past. ஏன்னா UPSC பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் examples வச்சு கூட questions கேட்குறாங்க. So this also you should have a good amount of clarity. So next வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, let us take a look at a previous year question. So flooding in urban areas is emerging as a climate induced disaster. Discuss the causes of this disaster. Mention features of two such major floods in the last 2 decades in India. Describe the policies and frameworks in India that aim at tackling such floods. So what did I tell you? Examples which kekranga. This is one such area where examples have been tested, right? Causes which kekranga, and also they have spoken about measures, right? Policies and frameworks. So in this context, please understand, நீங்க படிக்கிற எல்லா டாபிக்கையுமே factors, causes, effects, initiatives, measures, suggestions, way forward. In the context, if you make your notes, your life becomes much more easier, because when questions come, you can directly in the points நீங்க அழகா replicate பண்ணலாம், and it will definitely add value to your answers, right? So make sure you do something like this. Notes வந்து randomly எழுதாதீங்க, make structured notes. Examination or a demand and requirement புரிஞ்சு நீங்க நோட்ஸ் எழுதுனீங்கன்னா it will have a great deal of significance for you, okay? So guys, with this next topic வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா is a topic from international relations, right? ரொம்ப நாளா பேப்பர்ல there is a discussion on India-Philippines relationship. So in the context of what is very significant is both the countries have decided to elevate their relationship to that of a strategic partnership. Defense ties இருக்கட்டும், economic angle இருக்கட்டும், maritime ties, example with regard to the South China Sea, right? With all these ties, we are trying to improve our strength over here. We are deepening our ties and we are promoting this to be a strategic partnership. Okay, so in the context, let us understand few things. So number one வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, the areas of focus have been defense, maritime security, regional stability and economic ties. So in the context வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, terms of reference, how both the countries, army, navies and air force can collaborate. Coast guards also of India and Philippines can collaborate. Next, capacity building programs, right? So India வந்து helping them with elevating their defense ties, with elevating technological progress, right? So with regard to supplying of say machines, etc., right? So in the context of we are also trying to help them. Training programs offer பண்றது, இது எல்லாமே இருக்கலாம். Next வந்து what they are saying is talking about maritime cooperation, Indo-Pacific region, South China Sea, especially with China trying to improve its position over here, right? India and Philippines, like deepening their relationship could also counter this. அந்த வேலை இது ரொம்ப சிக்னிஃபிகண்ட்டாக இருக்கலாம், right? Similarly, Coast Guard பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் they are going to be collaborating, right? Cooperation is going to be there between the Indian Coast Guards as well as the Philippines Coast Guard. Next என்ன சொல்கிறாங்க with regard to disaster cooperation and security, right? Humanitarian assistance, disaster management, relief aid, இதில் எல்லாமே they both are going to collaborate much more further, right? And next in this context, Act East policy. So earlier we had what was called as Look East. Now we are shifting towards Act East. So Act East further propagate பண்றதுக்கு கூட deepening ties with Philippines will be very beneficial for India. Okay, so the எல்லாமே we have tried understanding. So in the context, please understand The world in which we are living in right now is becoming a multipolar world, right? So many countries are trying to bully India as well. So in the context like India trying to diversify its relationships, making new contacts, developing more strategic relationships, long run it could be very beneficial for us, right? So in this context, from being dependent, number one, we also have to focus on diversification and also becoming independent. The rendume are important, okay? So in the context just the brief idea where they are going to cooperate, map based locations, South China Sea, Philippines, etc. இது எல்லாமே கொஞ்சம் பார்த்துக்கோங்க. It could be significant. Fine. So next with this, right, number here, polity related topic inga vandu pathingana, in top quote, center rejects any move to lower age of consent. Okay, so age of consent patti pesirukanga, just few updates to this. So age of consent na enna? The minimum age in which an individual can have a physical or an intimate relationship. Okay, so this is with regard to age of consent. What should be the appropriate age for it? So inga vandu pathingana, the union government has strongly opposed reducing the age of consent from 18 years to 16 years. Yeah, இது reduce ஆச்சுனா, number one, it can promote more trafficking of women, flesh trade, right? And it can weaken the position of women, child abuse, right? And many perpetrators of crime வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா unfortunately happen to be relatives, happen to be neighbors, happen to be close family friends, school staff, etc. So in the context of we cannot afford to further weaken the position of women, especially that of children. So yes, therefore it is important to ensure that the age of consent is not reduced. So in the context there was an article. So what is age of consent, right? Idu padinga. Why this is important is because previously, a few years back, there was a debate with regard to age of marriage for men and women. So in the context because age of consent is being mentioned, go through it and try to understand the implications. So in the context of why it should be reduced and why it should not be reduced. So yes, so you create your points and have a debate with yourself. Why should it be reduced and why it shouldn't? Okay, so yes, இது வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா in the context of polity it is important, and most importantly உங்க GS paper 2 social justice ல கூட this is important. Okay, so with this வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா let us enter into the next topic. UN starts new bid to forge plastic pollution treaty amid global crisis. So yes, pollution பொறுத்தவரைக்கும் பாத்தீங்கன்னா in recent days the trend of the exam, especially with regard to pollution, is shifting towards 3 different types of pollution. என்னன்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா post COVID-19 biomedical waste. Yes, especially after India has become the most populous country in the world, electronic waste, because more the population, more the electronic goods. Next வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா plastic waste. So plastic waste வச்சு பாத்தீங்கன்னா micro beads பத்தி ஒரு question கேட்டிருந்தாங்க previously, which is nothing but microplastic, and how this microplastic in the ocean can impact human health, right? So இதே context வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா the world was trying to finalize a plastic treaty, a global plastic treaty, but the idea is in the treaty did not go through and it was a failure. So in the context there was just a demand to ensure that this crisis is effectively tackled. Many countries come together and make sure they address this issue. So in the context of what I wanted to read about is plastic pollution, single use plastics na enna, read about some terminologies, plastic crust, read about it. Then poly blend roads, idu patti padinga. Next, what are the conventions we have with regard to plastics and plastic management? Okay, and across this, which are some countries which are affected majorly because of plastic? So in the context of the plastics and plastic related issues patti padinga, think about some solutions which we can bring in to address plastics. Let me give you an example. Okay, so India la vandu pathina there is a cafe, it's called as Ambikapur cafe. In the Ambikapur cafe oda most significant feature vandu enna nu pathina, right? If at all these rag pickers ivanga vandu if they collect a significant amount of plastic and they give it in this particular cafe, இவங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு வேளை சாப்பாடு கிடைக்கும், right? So in the context வந்து நிறைய plastic collect பண்ணா 2 meals a day. So இந்த வேளை how does this help? Number one, rag pickers வந்து a source of nutrition because plastic கொடுத்தா they are getting food. Second, environmental cleanliness is taking place because number one, the issue of plastic is getting addressed, and number three, we are bringing plastics into the reuse, recycle and reduce process. So this helps us to promote a circular economy, right? So idu patti padinga. I'll give you one more example. Polyblend roads. So polyblend roads na enna? Nammala sutti egapatta plastic irukku. இந்த பிளாஸ்டிக் வச்சு கேன் வி கம் அப் வித் சம் இன்னோவேட்டிவ் சொல்யூஷன்ஸ்? எஸ், ஒன் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஃபார் யூஸ் பாலிபிளெண்ட் ரோட்ஸ். ஸோ என்ன சொல்கிறாங்கன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, வேர் எவர் ரோட்ஸ் ஆர் தேர், ரைட், மெனி ரோட்ஸ் ஆர் தெர் இஸ் அ ப்ராப்ளம் ஆஃப் பாட் ஹோல்ஸ், ரைட்? ஸோ மெனி பாட் ஹோல்ஸ் இருக்கிறதுனால ஆக்சிடென்ட்ஸ் டேக் பிளேஸ். ஸோ வாட் மெனி பீப்புள் ஆர் சஜஸ்டிங் இஸ் யூஸ் bitumen, யூஸ் modified recycled plastic waste, ரெண்டுத்தையும் மிக்ஸ் பண்ணுங்க and use it for laying roads. When this is done, number one, plastic is getting put to use and polyblend roads இருக்கிறதுனால pothole problem will not be there. Pothole problem இல்லைனா the best significant aspect of this is the number of accidents will also come down. So number one, we are taking into consideration an environmental cause and we are also trying to address a problem with the society has, accidents, right? So these are some innovative solutions. இந்த மாதிரியான points நீங்க conclusionல எழுதுனீங்கன்னா it will enhance the quality of your answers. So remember that, right? So read about the plastic treaty and read about the significant highlights with regard to this. So next, further moving forward, with this we have completed the discussion for today. Major GS topics நம்ம ரொம்ப effectively analyze பண்ணிட்டோம், right? So here you need to understand certain major takeaways, என்னென்ன டாபிக்ஸ் நம்ம பார்த்துருக்கோம், ரைட்? நான் உங்களை ப்ரிலிம்ஸ் ஆங்கிளில் போய் ரெஃபர் பண்ணி படிக்க சொன்ன டாபிக்ஸை போய் படிங்க. மெயின்ஸ் ஆங்கிளில் உங்களை போய் ரெஃபர் பண்ணி படிக்க சொன்ன டாபிக்ஸை ப்ளீஸ் கோ த்ரூ. ட்ரை டு கம்ப்ளீட் ஆல் ஆஃப் திஸ். ஓகே, ஸோ ஐ ஹோப் த டிஸ்கஷன் வாஸ் யூஸ்ஃபுல். தேங்க்யூ.